Yeah. Wake up with coffee and sports. Sunrise glow, listen coast to coast. A flow like you know.
Offensively, who made them? Oh, Patrick Mahomes.
Sideline to sideline with plays to show. This network's got the spark.
When you put up 300 yards rushing against someone, that you got your butt whooped.
I feel like I would have liked to see Oregon Ohio State in the semis, not the quarters. So I think some reseeding is probably where I would change. But
they're out of their mind. They're going to do this 3 quarterbacks in a row.
Here's the crazy.
I just can't take it.
First deep flying high, fast cheering loud, and one podcast moving through the crowd. Meaty boys brawling, no holds barred loud. This wire life never in doubt. Tune into the vibe.
That's my bold prediction for the show. Devin Booker, in the next 3 years, he will be a Houston Rocket.
Because I still think Seth is still at the top of his game. I do. I think he's right there. Who knows? Maybe. Not this year, but one time soon. Why wouldn't we potentially see Seth and Roman? You know what I mean?
Tune in the vibe. Party West, Court Centers. Got me on the mic, now let's spill the tea. Talking courtside dreams from history. Legends on the blacktop now and then. From Will to Steph, we hit it again. Better chimes in, let's go deep. Young bloods rising, can't skip a beat. Puppy prospects with fire in their eyes. Draft night suckers and hoop dream high. Wire to wire, bring the heat. Podcast magic can't be beat. Do better, we're both better. We're who cares? Trendsetters.
What's poppin', y'all? It is your boy, Gardi3, and welcome to the And One Podcast. And, of course, joining me just like every week, he is the greatest co-host of all time. By the way, shout out, Sijin. I see you. Thank you for topping in real quick.
Hey, what's up,
Mo, better. How you doing, Mo?
Hey, what's good, Brett? What's good, chat, everybody, on a Thursday night? It's M1. Let's get into it.
Oh, absolutely. So, you know how it is, Mo. Underrated player of the week. We always start out, if anybody's first time tuning in, by picking an underrated player, team, executive, whoever of the week that we want to that we want to spotlight. Could be current or historical, or college, WNBA, overseas, whatever works. So, Mo, who is your underrated player of the week?
I think my underrated player of the week it's really multiple players, because I'm going to give a shout out to winning players, the kind of players that help stars do what they do, elevate stars, help stars, feed off of stars. And the guys that I'm thinking about in particular are off of the defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder. So I'm thinking of a young guy who's all energy, great defense, great finisher in the open court, Cason Wallace, a proven veteran, a multiple-time champion in Alex Caruso, who's a dog on both sides of the court. And then a guy that kind of gets slept on, but when he comes in, when he's called into play, all he does is get you buckets, Isaiah Joe. Oklahoma City, they're much more than SGA, J-Dub, Chet, iHeart. Obviously, that's the core, but what makes them the team that they are is their overall depth. And, you know, that's a subtle shout out to Sam Presti, the GM, who I think is the best GM in basketball. But yeah, those are my shout outs for the week. Championship rotations, championship winning role players.
Hey, you know what? That's fair. I think my shout out was actually going to be a winning player, just somebody really solid for currently on the Houston Rockets. 3-and-D role player. I don't think he's getting enough love at times. Give me Josh Okogie. This team is just a lot better. He comes in, he knows his role, plays hard defense, he knocks down some threes, and he does all the little dirty things that a lot of superstar players really don't want to do. So it's one of those things where I wanted to try to dig dig a little deeper today, and the name I came up with, shout out to Joshua Coogie of the Houston Rockets for having such a great year for them so far.
Yeah, look, it's important. And Kogie's a good rotation player, brings a lot of energy, plays defense, makes plays. They're going to need that heading into the postseason from him.
Say Sam Presti's better than Rob Pelinka. Yeah, you know what?
That's
fair.
That's almost like an insult because there's a huge gap between Rob Pelinka and Sam Presti. But sure, okay.
It's like that one meme: coughing baby versus hydrogen bomb. Which one wins?
Right. Look, Rob's okay, but there's a big gap between okay and the best GM in basketball. So
Rob, I don't know what it is with Rob. It just feels like he's not good at filling out the margins, and it feels like that's what gets him. Like he obviously got guys like Luka. He got Anthony, got Davis into town. Well, actually, but at the end of the day, too, when it comes to Pelinka, it just feels like where he misses is when he starts like trying to figure out those complementary pieces and ends up with guys like Cam Reddish and Christian Wood. Honestly, if him and John Horst could merge, because John Horst is stupid good at finding like players on the margin, that would be a heck of a GM, not gonna lie.
Oh man, we could do a whole show on guys that have had multiple chances and multiple lives in the NBA, and I'd start off with Cam Reddish. And I have nothing against the young man. Look, as an NBA fan, I root for everybody to play well, everybody to get their shine on. He has all the talent in the world. That's all everybody talks about when we talk about him, and yet it's like being a degenerative gambler. You're going to be like, this is the time. This is it. Look, Cam Reddish, I hope he does get to turn his career around and ends up having a really good, long, extended career. But you think about guys like him. There's a guy who's kind of in purgatory that way. He's had moments with the Hawks, but we don't know if Kuminga has really found a home with the Hawks. But Kuminga could be a cautionary tale. Hopefully not. But Cam Reddish is definitely a cautionary tale.
How do I tune in right when Christian Wood is mentioned? Reverse is, let's just say, not the biggest Christian Wood guy.
Oh no, that makes two of us. Christian Wood is really good when he's on a team that's not good. When he's on a team that doesn't have high expectations, aren't expected to win or do anything, he excels.
That's all right. Him and Reddish can join the all potential team. They can join Bull and Amani Bates.
Oh wow. Oh wow, that's a good one. I still can't get over Shaq said Bobo was basically Wemby. What?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. He said that and I immediately almost fell out of my chair. I'm like, huh? Ooh. Like, if he was, like, even, let's say, 50% of Wemby, he would be starting somewhere.
Guaranteed. Facts.
But there's a reason he can't stick around. Now, I'm going to play a game of which quote is funnier. Like, the two funniest quotes I've heard all week have ironically come from Milwaukee and Chicago.
Really?
So I hit you with the first one from Milwaukee. Why not? Mo, a players only meeting. In the middle of a meeting, not a players only meeting, but in the middle of a meeting, unfortunately, my head coach decides to say, look at my resume, Google me. I took teams to the playoffs and championships that weren't supposed to be there. I thought this was one of them.
What?
Seriously?
What the hell is Doc talking about?
No. If it's like one person confirms a story, Mo, maybe you're like, oh, maybe something got misconstrued. Mo, 6 different people confirmed this story. to confirm the story. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. How, like, you are gassing up the fucking 2019 Clippers, I guess, because that's the only team I can think of, like those Lou Will, Montrezl Harrell Clipper teams that, made it farther than they should, but
They didn't go far.
they didn't go far, but, they made the playoffs.
Well, yeah, well, look, I'll give you that. Doc will get you into the playoffs. He might even get you to the second round, but he hasn't gone on deep playoff runs. It's been a minute. I mean, he had an opportunity a long time ago. Obviously his first stint with the Clippers, and they just came up short so many times. Like I said, it is a factual statement to say you've led teams to the finals that won titles. It is not a factual statement that says you led teams that weren't supposed to be there. No, you led a Celtics team that was very much supposed to be in the finals, and they went to the finals. I'll give you that. And the only reason they didn't go the very next year, and you would know this, Brett, is because Garnett gets injured midway early into the season. He misses basically the rest of the season. They actually had an impressive run. I think they made it to the conference semis without KG, but no, every team that went to the final, you only went to the finals twice. And it was both times you went with the Celtics that was supposed to be good enough to go to the finals. So I don't really know what Doc is talking about. Look, Doc Rivers is a good coach, a really good coach. If you look at his overall coaching record and resume, I don't think he's an all-time great coach. That's just my own opinion.
The funny part, too, is he was, like, this close to really messing up in 08, too. I don't know if people remember, but the first two rounds of the playoffs, he, like, almost got knocked out.
That's right.
Like, and it wasn't even against juggernauts. It was against the 37-win Hawks team.
Yeah.
Then a 45-win Cavs team took him to 7 games twice. So, like, okay, like, I know you won the finals, but I feel like a truly elite coach is not letting the Hawks get within even close to a game 7.
The Hawks had no business taking it. I remember the Hawks were the 8th seed, and they took the Celtics 7 games. Like, that easily could have gone the other way around. So, yeah, look, the bottom line is, did the Celtics win the title? They absolutely did. But you're right. For what they were, they stumbled in the first and second round to get out of those first 2 rounds. Look, again, a good coach. But when we start talking about the best of the best, I don't think he's in that category.
And also, my favorite part too is just like, Google me. All right, if I Google you and start at the beginning, what am I going to see? Okay, Blue a 3-1 lead, Blue recruiting Tim Duncan. Then, of course, we get to Boston eventually. You win a title, and then what is it? It's Blue a 3-1 lead, Blue a 3-1 lead, Blue a 3-1 lead, Milwaukee Bucks. Like, I wouldn't use the term Google me because I feel like at this point, unless you really hyper fixate on that 3-year Celtics run, which was really great, there's a lot more bad than good. So, Glenn, don't go with Google me at this point. It's not a good idea.
He should be a lot more humbler. Be more humble, man. You've had a really, really good coaching career, and it's not easy to win a title, and you won one, and you went to 2 finals. That's good. That's all good stuff. There's some great coaches who never win a title. So I'm giving you your flowers. By the way, Doc Rivers has done something Jerry Sloan never did. Do I think Doc Rivers is a better coach than Jerry Sloan? Absolutely not, because he's not. Rick Carlisle has won a title, obviously, with the Mavs. And you can say, well, Rick Carlisle only won 1 title. That's facts. He actually can make the statement that Doc made. I've gone to the finals and won titles with teams that weren't supposed to win. If Rick Carlisle says that, that would be a factual statement.
Mo, do you want to know what the competition is for even funnier comment of the week?
Just one worse? Wow.
Mo, what is your opinion on Billy Donovan?
I've been pretty consistent. My opinion is he needs to take his ass back to college.
Oh, Mo, well, you will not be the GM of the Chicago Bulls. I'm not even kidding. Real quote from Michael Reinsdorf, Jerry's kid. If we're interviewing someone and they're not sold on Billy, then they're not the right candidate for us. So it sounds like the GM better be on board with Billy, otherwise you ain't coming to Chicago. What did Billy Donovan do to get that much leeway? And apparently, besides a long-term extension, he's going to have a big say in the GM hire.
All right.
Like, when did that work? Like, at this point, just make Billy the GM, I guess. Go all in.
Look, he's a really good high-level college basketball coach. And he's probably a really nice guy and a great guy. Maybe he's a great hang. But if I'm a GM and you're hiring me to come in to help turn your franchise around, I have to be free to do my job. And if I'm free to do my job, I'd be like, well, one way to change the culture is we got to get rid of your head coach. Your head coach is not a leader of men. Not at the pro level. He's not. I'm sorry, but Billy, like, if you're telling me Billy Donovan gets a long-term extension out of it, okay, then I'm telling Bulls fans, don't hold your breath on the next time y'all make a run to the finals or make a deep playoff run, period. It's not happening anytime soon. And let me just say this, follow up real quick. They do have good players, some talented players on that roster. They do not have a franchise player. You have to have a building block to at least start putting your team together and really doing your due diligence on roster construction. They don't have that. I love Josh Giddey, but Giddey is he's a sidekick or a number 2 or 3 to a franchise player. He's not a franchise player. And until they get a franchise, by the way, I'm not sure you get a franchise player under Billy Donovan that changes anything, because look, Billy Donovan he coached some really talented Oklahoma City teams, and he didn't do anything with those either. I just think Billy Donovan's not cut out for pro basketball.
Say, pray for Damian. His Bulls are doing Bulls things and will. Yeah.
That's true. If Damian's going to enjoy next basketball season, it'll be because he'll be playing the up-to-dated version of 2K. Chicago will be much better in 2K than in real life.
And it's funny because, like I said, people are talking about draft and tanking reform, but, like, you want to know why franchises stay bad? It's not because of tanking. It's incompetent GM and front office and scouting work. Like, I promise you, like, this is why the Bulls are bad. Obviously, there's multitudes of things that just went wrong for the Bulls that have led to this point. But bad teams stay bad because of bad choices. Like, the Bulls aren't tanking. They're just this incompetent, I promise you. They're just this bad. Although, granted, Bulls and Wizards played a couple nights ago, Mo? I don't know what's worse. Bam scoring 83 or Rob Dillingham and Patrick Williams combining for 46. Like, it might be Dillingham and Patrick Williams.
I was going to say that might be worse because those are two guys that you could argue that you weren't sure they had a pulse. Look, I'm just saying, Bulls fans, be patient. Be very, very patient. And look, we could do a whole show on just, let's go back and look at the Bulls, let's say last 5 draft picks. That'll tell you all you need to know about that franchise. You just brought up a name. When you get it that wrong, the way they got it wrong on Patrick, when you draft somebody in the lottery and the guy you drafted that you said is going to be a building block, a big piece of us turning things around and going forward, when you get it wrong the way they did with Patrick Williams, where you draft a role player in the lottery, that sets your franchise back 5-10 years. That's what happens. It's not that Patrick Williams isn't a capable NBA player. It's that they grossly overrated him. He belongs on the NBA roster, but he never belonged in the lottery.
And the bigger issue was them like refusing to admit their mistake and doubling down and giving him an extension before his rookie contract was even up.
They gave him money. They gave him a raise as if, well, look how well Patrick's played. He got to get a no. Patrick hasn't played well.
Like I feel like I could genuinely pay like Danhausen to sit under the basket and curse the opposing team, and it would probably accomplish just as much as whatever he does over there most nights. But hey, nice 20-piece. You know what's funny with the Bulls? Although, you know what's funny? They draft pretty well. They just trade away all their good draft picks before they can actually provide for them.
Well, the guys they keep are always the guys that normally most teams don't want. But they're very much like the Sacramento Kings. It's not that they don't make a couple of good draft picks. They just don't retain them.
No, absolutely. Like, if we go back to 2018, obviously Wendell Carter, good pick. Traded him. Colby White and Daniel Gafford, both good picks. Traded both of them.
I like Colby White. I think Colby White is one of those kind of instant offense guys, which, by the way, he's perfect where he is now with the Hornets. But let's agree, right, those are good players. But when's the last time they drafted somebody that was supposed to be, an impact player, a star player? That's when they drafted Patrick Williams. They thought Patrick Williams was going to be like one of the next big things. And look, the only reason he's not Anthony Bennett is because he's still in the league. Other than that, he'd be Anthony Bennett.
Yeah, I was about to say they haven't really done this since since Derrick Rose.
I would agree with that.
Say they hit on Rose and then they just missed the next three because that's when you got James Johnson and Kevin Seraphin in the first round, and you're like, I don't know what we're doing now, but we're doing something.
Well, don't forget, years before that, when they the ones that drafted both Tyson Chandler and Eddie Curry? Was that them?
I know they ended up with both of them.
I don't know how I think they had them both at some point, but that was so weird. And look, Tyson Chandler turned out he ended up having a really good NBA career, found his zone as an elite defender, rim protector. But when you draft somebody the way they drafted Tyson Chandler, they thought he was a franchise player, and he wasn't. Eddie Curry had franchise talent, but he had the same kind of motor as DeAndre Ayton. He was lazy. He wasn't that dude. I'm sad for Bulls fans because when you tell me you've committed to Billy Donovan for a long-term extension, I'm asking, what did Billy Donovan do? All I'm asking is, what did he do or what has he done to deserve that kind of confidence that he's going to help turn your franchise around, when I would argue he's a big part of the reason why your franchise is one of the bottom dwellers in the NBA.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Give him an extension, whatever, I guess. But, at the same time, you're going to lose out on all the best GM candidates because they're going to want to pick their own guys. So,
right.
You're just going to end up with a mediocre or bad GM, and you're just going to continue this cycle. By the way, Tyson Chandler, yeah, he was drafted by the Clippers, but then traded to the Bulls on draft night.
Right.
So, yeah, they did end up with him, and then years later, Eddie Curry, Knicks legend.
That's just crazy to me. Like I said, Bulls fans, it's a big gap. You go from Michael Jordan to Derrick Rose, which is amazing, by the way. You get Derrick Rose, but then Derrick Rose is the last transcendent player you guys drafted. You've drafted a lot, obviously, because y'all ain't been good for a minute. And by the way, when we talk about teams that tank, Brett, my partner is 100% right. The Bulls aren't tanking. They are honestly that bad. They don't have to tank. They are giving you their very best effort, and they're just really honestly that bad.
I'll say them and the Kings are my 2 favorite tankers this year because it's just straight ethical tanking. It's Hey, we're not trying to lose games. We just are incapable of winning anything.
Well, the Kings went with a completely different strategy. They said, "Hey, we're going to start a bunch of 35-year-olds and see what happens." We didn't tell the 35-year-olds don't play their hardest or don't play their best. We just said we're going to start 35-year-olds, and so they're not tanking. They're just like you said, they're ethically not good. They're not good. It's not fake. They're not good. We don't know why you'd rather have DeRozan and Levine, but you'll get rid of De'Aaron Fox. I'm sure there's rhyme or reason to that. I don't get it, but I'm sure there's a rhyme or reason to it. You don't keep De'Aaron Fox, but you bring in Russ. And I'm not bagging on Russ, but clearly Russ is like in his mid-30s. He's a full 10 years older than De'Aaron Fox. I don't understand that way of thinking.
Don't worry, they'll tank next year when apparently it's going to be one of the weaker draft classes, from what I've heard. The draft class you should have tanked for was this one, so naturally, Bulls and Kings, ironically, they're going to wait till next year.
I guess the Kings always have a plan, right? I get it. Brett, what is the wing that they just gave an extension to? What is he in his third year? But he's not a
Keegan Murray,
right? A good example. Keegan Murray is we would both agree, a good basketball player who's either a solid starter or an elite guy coming off your bench. But what he's not a franchise player. Keegan Murray's not a perennial all-star. That's not what he is. And they treated him, look good for him, because I'm never going to bag on a player for getting his money. But when you overpay for a rotation player, that's also another reason why your franchise is where it is.
I think maybe a problem with Keegan Murray, ironically, is I think he might be putting on too much muscle, which I think is helping with his rebounding for sure. And I think that's a good area of improvement for him. But like his 3-point shot has fallen off a cliff. Like I know they wanted him to be, obviously like a 3-and-D wing. And like first year, 41% from 3. He looked the part. Next year, 35. Okay, well, we're slightly below league average. Then 34, and then this past year, 27%. So, like, he is just regressing hard from the 3-point line. I don't know if it's because he's trying to beef up to be able to battle inside and it's messing with his mechanics or, what's going on. But let's say I think that's got to be what he's got to work on fixing this offseason.
What he's got to work on is him and his agent need to walk into King's management office and say something that you don't see said very often by rotation players. I want out. Look, Keegan Murray is like what, 24? I want to say he's 20, 23, 24 years old. Do you want to waste your 20s being on a really, really bad Sacramento franchise when you could go to a contender and you might be in a lesser role, but you're going to enjoy playing basketball more and you're going to experience success? I would not want to be part of the Kings rebuild because they're doing the slowest, maybe the worst rebuild I've ever seen in the history of rebuilds.
Hey, just wait for next year's rebuild. They'll like trade for Paul George. Rebuild young wing.
We joke a lot, but he's making the rounds near the end of his career. If things go sideways with James Harden in Cleveland, yeah, it wouldn't shock me if James Harden turned up in Sacramento.
Yeah, that would be something else. Yeah, I'd say. By the way, did you hear about the new tanking? Apparently, anti-tanking thing they're gonna vote on. Say, they got 18 teams in the lottery. Bottom 10 that missed the play-in, and 8 that qualify. Bottom 10 teams each have an 8% chance of moving up in the lottery. The remaining 20% split among the next 8 teams. And all 18 teams are drawn as part of the lottery. So, Mo, you know how we fix tanking? Let's add even more teams to the lottery. And, like, slightly lessen the odds.
So, let me get this straight. So now you're going to have 18 teams in the lottery. And I get it, right? The really worst of the worst still have the best shot. But anomalies happen. It's kind of like gambling, right? Will it be right if a team that's won, let's say, 43 games ends up with the number one pick in the draft? I'm just saying, because that could happen. Now, if you're the guy that's coming out of college, you probably hope that happens, because let's be honest, you don't want to go to a bottom dweller. I don't think that proposal solves tanking. I think what it's going to do is, like I just said, those teams that are on the fringe, that are either in the playoffs or just in the playoffs or just in the play-in, that maybe have won 40 games or something like that. That means they're pretty good. But what if they end up with the number one or number two pick in the draft versus the team that won 18 games all year long? Like, I understand. I can hear the voices now, like, yeah, but that team that won 18 games, they've been terrible for years, Mo. They've been. I get it. I do. It really does seem like the same franchises are always in the draft lottery. I'm not even arguing that. I'm not. But the only way a team like Utah or the Kings get better is through the draft. Because what do we know about bottom dweller teams? Well, let's start off with the obvious. No top level free agent goes to a bottom dweller team. So they don't get better through free agency, and they don't get better through monster trades, because most people don't trade with really, really bad teams. They usually have one way to get better, and it's through the draft. I think Silver needs to try to address this in a more positive, overarching way, rather than just say, we're just going to add more teams and that'll make it better. No, Adam Silver, that will make it crazier. That would make it more insane. If my team is locked in the seventh spot, I can't get any better. I'm in the seventh spot, which means I'm going to be in one of the play-ins. And I've won 44 games. And I'm not bad. But I got a shot to win the lottery. I'm not sure that's solving your problem. I think as a fan, it's intriguing to me, but I don't think what he's proposing is a solution.
I think the biggest winners of that potential setup are the Spurs and Thunder. Because not only do they have a lot of like these really middling like Clippers, like picks, etc. Now who's going to be able to stockpile the talent to catch up with them? Like, they have so much young talent and everything. Like, you're gonna need multiple top end guys to compete with those guys, and now it's just gonna be that much harder to acquire the top end talent to compete with OKC and San Antonio, who are both really young teams.
You are reading my mind, partner. What Silver is doing is, because you can make the argument the last 4 or 5 years in the NBA, for better or worse, has been parity, right? You can say it's been parity. Different champions, different teams in the conference finals, and they love parity. But what he's doing, what I'm proposing is going to happen is, it's going to get the opposite of what he's trying to do. You're setting it up to where the Spurs and the Thunder and maybe one or two teams in the East literally have a stranglehold and a monopoly on talent and depth. And like you said, I don't know how you play catch up. You don't. The Spurs are one of those organizations. They very rarely have a lot of high level like contract disputes or things of that nature. Most guys want to stay there. What they've done now with that core that they've built around Wemby, this team is a legit title contender now, and none of those guys are even fully developed. That includes Wemby, by the way. As good as he is right now today, Brett, I don't think he's a finished product. I think he's still actually elevating. I still think he's going to get better. Same for Castle, same for Harper. That team is loaded, and they have draft picks. Oklahoma City is loaded, and guess what? They have draft picks. You brought up a great point. If Oklahoma City has 4 or 5 number ones, and they're in the teens, and people go, well, that's not going to do any damage. It does a ton of damage if they trade all 4 of those in the teens to move up to get into the lottery, right? They can do that, can they not? Like, I think this sets up. By the way, I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan of dynasties. I like when a great team comes out of nowhere and they kind of dominate the league and they make everybody else play catch up. I think Oklahoma City and San Antonio are on the verge of getting a stranglehold on the Western Conference for the next 6 to 10 years.
And that's fair enough. It's going to be hard to stop them, especially like I said, if this new one goes through, all of a sudden, like the Spurs pick won't be able to probably convey into the lottery, I'd imagine, but all of a sudden they have, like, for example, I believe 2027 they have the Hawks pick. Who's to say that they won't be a play-in team still? Like, they still got ways to go, so they like the Spurs will still have bites at the the lottery, and the last thing we need is them winning another lottery.
Oh my God. Could you imagine the insanity of it? What if the Spurs or Thunder get one of the top 3 picks? Or let's say they each get a top 3 pick. Look, I'm not trying to make other fan bases depressed. And look, that applies to my team, your favorite team. It does. But as a fan of the game, I admire front offices that operate the way Sam Presti and his crew operate. I admire the way R.C. Buford and the crew work over there with San Antonio. So, look, we can laugh about it, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that San Antonio could continue to add talent to an already loaded young core.
Dallas had a healthy team, they'd be in talks for top 3-4 in the West. I'm assuming we're talking about if they still had Anthony Davis with that one.
And Kyrie, right? A healthy Kyrie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Healthy Kyrie.
Yes, if you had both of those. But if you had both of those, I don't know. I'm gonna be consistent about this. When they first got Cooper Flag and drafted him, the first thing I said is Kyrie's 34, AD's 33. Cooper Flag's 18. They're not going to be teammates. They're not going to be like Cooper Flag is part of their future. And as great as Kyrie and Anthony Davis are, they're not part of the Mavs' future. Like they're a different time. They're in a different time zone when you look at their careers versus Cooper Flag's career. I would be shocked if Dallas doesn't entertain trading Kyrie in the offseason. Not because I'm not a Kyrie Irving fan. I am, but I'm simply saying the Cooper Flag-led Dallas Mavericks, that iteration, it's going to be a couple of years or so before they're title contenders. My point is Kyrie's 34, so he's going to be around 35, 36, 30. I don't think so. It doesn't make sense for Dallas, and it doesn't make sense for him.
Yeah, and I feel like that sounds like a fun team, and I think they would be one of the top teams in the West, but I feel like they would get smoked in like 4 games or 5 by the Spurs or the Thunder. The problem is Cooper Flag isn't exactly an efficient shooter, and I'm sure that would obviously be a lot different if he had a healthy Kyrie and Anthony Davis to play off of. But another problem is Anthony Davis also has like lost the touch on his jump shot in recent years. That hasn't been falling. So I would just worry too much about just camping Chet or Wemby or some monstrosity in the lane that they couldn't attack the rim at all.
And look, timing is everything. You know this, I know this. The Lakers went 15-2 last month, right? They look like world beaters. People love them. And they go into that game against Oklahoma City with all this confidence, like we want to test ourselves against the world champs, which is a great thing. And they get blown out. They get the brakes beat off of them, and Luka gets hurt. Then you find out a couple days later, Reeves is out, and suddenly 2 of your 3 best players out for the rest of the remaining regular season. That doesn't concern me because I'm good with the Lakers being in the 4 spot. Because if the basketball gods are really kind to me, Houston will be in the 5 spot. I no disrespect, Rockets fans. I just think that if there's a team the Lakers can beat in the first round, it's your Rockets. If we're healthy, because that's key. If the Lakers are fully healthy, there's no way they'll lose to Houston in a series. It's not even. It's no doubt in my mind.
I think one of the funniest tweet I saw about the Lakers recently is somebody said when they induct Chris Paul into the Hall of Fame, they got to add actually throws catchable balls to DeAndre Ayton as part of his accolades because this dude cannot catch. I'm like, ouch! Like you're not wrong, but ouch. Yeah, watching JJ go up on the stand and just straight up be blunt about why people weren't playing was low key kind of refreshing. It's not often you see a head coach deliver that much honesty. Probably not great for team chemistry, but
It is not great for team chemistry, but I do appreciate the honesty. And look, let's be honest. Ayton has some of the worst hands in the NBA. He's got brick hands. He is terrible. And I want to ask you this honestly: when the Lakers signed DeAndre Ayton, were you not basically expecting this? Because this is everything that's come through in terms of the kind of season that he's had for them. I'm not gonna lie, I expected this. I can't say he's disappointed me. I think he's been exactly what I thought he would be. And maybe in that sense, I'm disappointed because I thought, look, you know what Ayton is? Ayton is a big man version of Cam Reddish. We keep waiting. We keep saying, like, you know what? Because I believe this will be Ayton's first and last season with the Lakers, but somebody else is going to come along next year in the offseason and go, Ayton's got talent. We can work with him. So he will get another shot. You don't have to worry about that. Guys like Ayton and Nurkic who drive you crazy and give coaches gray hairs, they always get multiple chances because they are talented.
Ayton like disappointed me a bit because I thought he could at least be like a quality starter. Like I wasn't expecting like all NBA or all-star or anything, but I was like, okay, he can come in playing off of Luka and LeBron. All he has to do is like, catch lobs, try on defense, probably just you feel like you just accident. Like if Jackson Hayes can be a quality starter half the time playing next to those two, like I think DeAndre Ayton can pull it off. And honestly, it feels like the biggest difference is like DeAndre Ayton just never bought into his role. Like someone like Jackson Hayes, ironically, it's like Hayes knows what he's there to do. Ayton literally took till March to figure out, maybe they're not trying to build the offense around my post ups.
And then he says the dumb thing. We talked about this before when he goes, you know what? I can see, I get it. I could play like Capella. I could be Capella. At first he was insulted. Then he was like, oh, I see what they're trying to get me to do. I could do that. I could embrace that. I could play defense. I could rebound. Like you needed some kind of self-discovery to not know. Yeah, that's what they want from you. Look, we joke a lot at times about Jackson Hayes. Obviously, he's not the most skilled player, but what I will say about Jackson Hayes is he never, and I mean never, cheats you in terms of his effort. And Jackson Hayes is one of those NBA players, to his credit, he stays in his lane, Brett. You know what Jackson Hayes don't do? He don't take jump shots. He don't do pull-ups. He don't try to do wild post moves. He knows what he does well. And what he does well is he runs to the rim and he catches dunks and lobs at the rim. He's very good at it. He's better at it than Ayton. Ayton is more talented, but the truth of the matter is the player that I trust more is Jackson Hayes. It's not even close.
It's funny because I know I've joked about Jackson Hayes, but in all reality, I would take Jackson Hayes on my team just because of what you said. Like, you're going to buy in, you're going to play, you're going to do exactly what you need to play your role and, be cool about it. Like, yeah, honestly, I'll take it. Ayton, welcome to the Kings or Bulls. There we go.
You watch this. I feel like this offseason, there's going to be a lot of player movement because a lot of teams are going to finally have that come to Jesus moment and realize, okay, we got to reset. We got to rebuild. We got to do the hard thing that nobody wanted to do. And I think you're going to see a lot of movement. Look, you're a Bucks fan. I know you get exhausted over your boy Shams always like people say they're getting tired of Giannis. I'm not tired of Giannis. You know who I'm tired of? I'm tired of Shams. Shams is still talking about everything Giannis. Mind you, he hasn't gone anywhere. He hasn't gotten traded. And I'm like, but Shams keeps reporting on Giannis like it's breaking news, and I'm like, it'll be breaking news if and when the Milwaukee Bucks decide to trade Giannis. Anything other than that, not news.
Right. Like, no, exactly. That's where I'm at with it. I'm like, dude, I don't care. Like, I can tell how much sources you really have because you just fixated on Giannis at the deadline. They got beat by guys like Kenny Beecham. On the James Harden trade, you just got beat by everybody. Except, like, you had no idea about the Jaren Jackson stuff. So it's one of those things that obviously he has more sources than most of us, but at the same time, I don't think he's as tapped in as he claims to be. Because, there's a lot of surprises that seemingly even caught him off guard. I can't even defend this because I can't defend it because Rui can't defend. So he's been rough this year.
I think Rui has struggled defensively. I think that's obvious, but offensively, he's actually been really good. Like, I think outside of Kennard, Rui's been our best 3-point shooter. I think he's shooting like 43% all year long. Rui has turned himself into a really good corner 3-point shooter, a really good catch and shoot guy, but he's always struggled defensively. This might be his last year with the Lakers. Now, I believe Rui Hachimura is a good rotational player that can help a team win. He hasn't had as much success with the Lakers, but who's to say what he would do if he went to the Timberwolves, or if he went to the Celtics, or something like that, like, or the Spurs. Like, I think there's a place for a guy like Rui on a title contender.
That's always my favorite. The non-shooting big, shooting threes in their summer workout video. Like, I'm just sitting there the entire time, like Patrick Ewing. Like, do you shoot that? Can you shoot that shot? Do you work on that shot? I'm like, dude, if you're not going to shoot it in a game, what are you doing, man?
It's funny because they always show Dwight Howard working out and shooting fadeaway jump shots, and I'm like, yeah, but that's a shot that Dwight Howard would never try in a game.
Right, and he say they'll show videos of Dwight. I'm like, buddy, just set that pick and roll, set the screen, and just roll to the basket. I promise you, make life so much easier for you if you didn't have a weird obsession with post ups.
Right, just go to Old Faithful, set a strong screen, and then take that big athletic body and roll to the rim. Just go to that. That's Old Faithful.
Right, it felt like that's where Dwight really thrived when he was screen and rolling, or like if you got a slower big on him, he could face him up and use his athleticism to blow by him. Like, I'm not gonna lie, every time Dwight posted up, I just kind of hated it because I'm like, you're not that efficient with these. Like, I'm even in your prime. Like, what are you doing? Like, I get you want to post up, but at the same time, I feel like the screen and roll is just a more efficient weapon that should be utilized more. Not saying that Dwight should have never posted up, but like, I feel like, just set some more screens. It'd be all good. But hey, shout out to that 2009 run.
Yeah, look, D12 was a great player. He really was. You almost forget because that 2009 run seems like so long ago. But yeah, there was a time when you could build around him and he could be the cornerstone of your team. And he was unique, right? Not really necessarily a primary scorer, but so dominant defensively and on the glass, and so athletic that just on still work. Like that's why Stan Van Gundy used to yell at him all the time, because he was like, if Dwight runs, as long as Dwight runs, he instantly puts pressure on the opposing team as long as he runs, because he buries you under the rim.
By the way, did you see the other fun interview that we had? We had Anthony Davis on Draymond Green's podcast.
Oh, I did not see that. That had to be fun.
Oh, there's a lot. Anthony Davis, I don't know why. I feel like he's lying with this story. So apparently he told David Griffin that he wanted Ja Morant in the 2019 draft to pick one because he knew Drew Holiday needed a point guard next to him. Griffin told AD they had to take Zion, and the rest is history. Does he forget that we remember how the whole Anthony Davis saga played out? Like, buddy, You requested a trade in January. You got fined for requesting a trade in January. Like, the ping pong balls didn't get dropped till, like, what, May? Like, you requested a trade 5 months before that. And honestly, the 2019 draft, one, you didn't know what pick they'd have, if they'd even be in the jaw range. But as soon as they got pick one, like, we can talk about in hindsight, but in the moment, like, yeah, at that point, Zion's the pick. And he's talking about like, I don't know how that worked. Like, who's coming off the bench? Like, AD, you requested a trade like 5 months before this all happened.
Right,
like, buddy, you're starting, just not for the Pelicans. Like, that was already very clear. So I don't know. He was doing some weird, like, revisionist history, and he was complaining about how the people of New Orleans still boo him and Dre's gassing him up. Like, oh yeah, they can't boo their best franchise player, like their best player in franchise history. I'm like, dude, yes, they can. Like, the way Anthony Davis handled himself on the way out, and then obviously we got to remember he never even wrote like a "Thank you, New Orleans" or anything. He just went to LA, and in his last home game, if everybody remembers, he wore out "That's all, folks" shirt.
I remember. That's right. That's what I was getting to, the shirt. Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, look, the way he left, of course they're gonna boo you. They should boo you. They should. You left and you didn't at least say, "Hey, I want to thank the fans in New Orleans for my time here, supporting me." Blah blah blah. Whatever. You didn't even do that. I don't know why he would let Draymond gas him up, but I really feel like when guys go on these shows, whether it's Draymond's podcast or Melo's podcast or Jeff Teague's or Gil's Arena, I feel like guys go there and everybody wants to do revisionist history about their career or somebody else's career. Like, it's very like they actually had an in-depth argument about whether Rashard McCants was a bum or not. like that was a topic. I don't know, like, come on, man. Like, you had a cup of coffee in the NBA. Like, you were good enough to get in the NBA. You just weren't good enough to stay in the NBA. Like, what am I supposed to say to that though? That is crazy stuff.
I think I can't remember exactly the phrasing, but I think Boogie said it best the one time when Rashard was gassing himself up on the podcast, and Boogie like simply went, I played against you, right? I'm like, you're okay, that was good. Like, you don't really need to say much more than that. And of course, Rashard got heated when Boogie like shut him down like that. But it's like, yeah, I know he's right. Like, you didn't play in the 50s where we can't prove anything because there's no film. Like,
right.
Like, you played when there's cameras. Like, we can watch you, Rashard.
We can literally watch the best of Rashard McCants. But yeah, everybody's got revisionist histories, whether it's Jason Williams talking about John Stockton being overrated or Isaiah saying KD would be better, just as good with the Bulls as Jordan. Like, just insane stuff. And I don't understand why they do that. I don't understand why everybody's got to go there, but a lot of them tend to go there.
Especially that someone like AD, like, your career is so insane already. Like, you don't need to play revisionist history. Like, the truth is more interesting than the revisionist history portion of this. Like,
I agree.
Like, especially when it's a superstar level player, like top 75 caliber player, like Big Dog. You don't gotta lie. Like, just shoot it straight, man.
Yeah, I don't get why AD tried to play victim there. Like, dude, you was campaigning to get up out of there so long ago. I don't know what like it's crazy talk. Draymond talks crazy all the time. I think this will be the one-off season where I feel fairly confident that Draymond won't be in a Golden State Warriors uniform next year. I really believe that.
That would be interesting. It'd be like Hornets Tony Parker level eyesore.
That was brutal. That was painful to watch as a fan, seeing Tony Parker on the Hornets. I mean, not as bad as Ewing. in Orlando. I think at one point Seattle too. Elijah won on the Raptors. Ugh.
Say my favorite player, Ben Wallace on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Say they it's still one of my favorite. I always just love like the old guys in when they like team up with like LeBron or someone because then it gets used against them and it's so funny. I've had people go like, well, he lost to Dwight Howard, should have been able to stop him. He had Ben Wallace. I'm like, 2009 Ben Wallace is your measuring stick? Like, no, that dude ain't. It's not slowing. Like, it's not bothering Dwight Howard in '09. Like, if it was '04, we're gonna have a different conversation. But 5 years later, like he ain't touching D12.
Agreed. That's facts. Yeah, I don't know why people do that.
And Mo, I thought we'd top off the night with a little fun. Like I said, made some all NBA and all rookie teams, in my opinion, what they'd be like if the season ended tomorrow. And I'm just curious, how do you think I did? Let's start off with the rookie teams. I feel like the all NBA rookie first team is the easy one.
I think you nailed it. This will be my all NBA. This is we're just going off the best players. We're not doing positions. I think you nailed it. Right at the top with Flag, Knipple, Harper, Edgecombe. The guy that people sleep on, but I knew you wouldn't. Cedric Coward is a ball. That dude is a hooper. It is only going to get better. I love this team, and I love the Rookie of the Year race. My gut instinct is I think because of this late surge that Cooper Flag will win it, but I think I would say that Khan had a more consistent season.
Yeah, I'd say Khan's still my pick for Rookie of the Year. I wouldn't be shocked if Cooper won it off this late surge, but like I said, Khan's still my pick.
Mine too.
Second team was a lot more challenging, but we got Ryan Kalkbrenner, CMB, Ace Bailey, and then Queen and Fears. Another guy also thought about Raymond of the Kings, and then there's Javon Smalls of the Memphis Grizzlies.
Smalls is a good one. You can tell what the Pelicans were doing because Fears and Queen were putting up numbers like midway through the season, and then they flipped them in the rotation and they weren't starting anymore near the second half for no unknown reason. No one knows why. I know why, you know why, but that's what they chose to do. But yeah, I like the second team as well too. I think you did. This is really well thought out. I think Colin Murray Boyles is nice and gets slept on. This is a nice squad. So no, I think you did great. I love it.
I love CMB. He's a guy I was high on in the draft, and he's such a defensive demon.
Yes.
I very much still half the time dislike watching Raptors basketball, but I will sit through a Raptors game and just kind of lock in on CMB because him and Scotty are fun to watch. They have fun players. And they're just a weird team.
They're weird because their front office is smart enough to know that Scotty Barnes is definitely a major piece in terms of you being a contender and competing for a title. But I think they also think that he's not enough in that they don't think he can be the best player. And you guys, I would argue that. I think look, there's no question Scotty Barnes is their best. I don't care who the leading scorer is, but their best player is Scotty Barnes. I think what's missing from Scotty Barnes is that they need somebody who's as good or better than Brandon Ingram and RJ Barrett combined. I don't mean two more players. I mean one player that's better than both of them combined. They need Scotty. Scotty needs a sidekick, or he needs to be the sidekick to said player. But that's what they're missing.
I was going to say, I think you can find an offensive engine to put next to Scotty, and that's probably what's best for him. Say, take some of that offensive and playmaking burden out of his hands.
Yeah, I agree.
And then just for fun, Mo, I threw together my all-NBA teams as well. Obviously, right now, I'm doing it based on the 65-game rule. It's all positionless, so Let me pull up the first team. Now, there's a mission. Luca is currently ineligible, but he's appealing the decision. So if Luca was healthy, he would be right here. But as of right now, he's not. So here is my All NBA first team for the 65 games.
And I co-sign on this first team. With the exception of what you just said about Luca, he's trying to appeal, and if he wins the appeal, my guess is Kawhi would be moved to the second team, and Luca would be in the first team. But we'll see. But as far as I'm concerned, going off for the 65 game threshold, you nailed it.
Say, here's my fun second team. It's funny. You know what's funny? I briefly considered Maxey for the first team. He's been flying under the radar for some reason, but he's been so good this year.
I mean, that's a strong second team. I think the interesting thing about the second team is they're all perimeter players. They're all wings and guards, which is unique. But I think that's a deserving second team. Again, we're going off for the 65 game threshold because if that wasn't a thing, then obviously Cade Cunningham would be there. But I digress. But I think going with that theme, I think you nailed it. There was times during the regular season I thought Maxey had a shot to be first team, and the Sixers kind of took a little bit of a dip. But I like your team overall, first and second team All NBA.
I was gonna say there's like 5 guys that kind of aren't qualified that threw the All NBA teams off. Obviously, like Giannis, Luka, Cade, and then you have Ant also that isn't eligible.
Another one, yeah.
So it's an interesting year, and that's why this All NBA third team was so hard, Mo. Because I feel like some of them were easy, but then you're like, are you All NBA? But then you're like, well, I can't put in guys like Ant and Cade, so I kind of have to move some of you guys into this conversation. So I did the best I could to parse out the third team, but it's kind of a mess because of how many injuries are hampering the first team.
There is, but you know what? Let's just say that if this plays out the way that you laid it out, this is all the more reason that Adam Silver and the powers that be need to get back in the lab and find a way to. You don't have to do away with the 65 game threshold, but you need to amend it to where you could look at players on a case by case basis. Oh, he just had major surgery or whatever, but he played 59 games. Yeah, let's you know what I mean? Let him go ahead and get those honors, because I think that's the way it should go. I think Jalen, like I told you earlier, Jalen Duren and Booker were locks in my. They were definitely All NBA. I think Scotty Barnes should be there. I'm not going to complain about Chet or LaMelo because I think with the 65 game threshold being what it is, they would be All NBA performers. I have no problem with that.
I think my solution to the All NBA 65 game minimum would I feel like adding a minutes thing would be good too. Because if you add a minutes, let's say you've got to play 65 games or 1,800 minutes. Cade, I think Cade played over 2,000. Ant played over 2,000. The guys who are deserving all also cleared 2,000 minutes. So I'm thinking you don't need to do away with it if you don't want to, but I feel like it would just be smart to maybe add okay, you don't need to play 65 games, but if you play, I don't know, 2,000 minutes or 1,800 or something like that. I think that would be a fine workaround if they're desperate to keep the 65 game thing.
Yeah, I actually think that's a good idea. See, it's ideas like that they can add and make it and use it for an amendment and go, well, he only played 58 games. He only played 58 games, but he played 2,100 minutes. Okay, there you go. So he definitely played more than enough minutes. You can find a way to at least amend it to where guys that are deserving get their flowers.
Oh, absolutely. I'd say that's at least the only way I can think of if you add the minutes thing. The only other way is either getting rid of it or just dropping the number of games. But it feels like the most realistic thing is probably just to add minutes because I don't think they're dropping the 60. They they might go down to like 60, but I don't think they'd go much further than that.
Yeah, he's put himself kind of like up against the wall, so he's not going to get rid of the 65 game thing just yet. He's got to get stung or burnt, whatever you want to call it, a few more times before he realizes he needs to really work on amendments. Your idea about the minutes, you're the first one that even that I've heard mention that, but I hope they're thinking that way, because that is a way that you can still get guys in that are worthy of being all NBA or getting a raise or all those other kind of like accolades that stars get this time of year. So yeah, I like your idea a lot.
Blame the load managing people.
Yeah. I mean, if we're gonna get into low managing, then we got to get into, Coach Pop, because let's be honest, the Spurs kind of started all that, right? So
No, absolutely. I feel like some of it might be, load management. But at the same time, like we're seeing situations now more and more where it's the organization holding the players out, not them necessarily sitting out. But also, it's just, I don't know, Mo. It's just so hard to so hard to avoid soft tissue injuries like hamstrings and everything in today's game because, like, it's just a lot more like half court movement, a lot of ball movement, a lot of off ball and player movement now to a point where, all right, it's one of those things that it's just kind of hard to stay healthy, and it's the big difference is I don't think the players, for example, back in the day, I don't think it's they were tougher and they did it with worse medicine. I think it's just the game has transformed to a point now where it requires so much running that it's just hard to stay healthy. So it's just hard to draw the line of load management. Then once you get to load management, is it the player load managing? Is it the team load managing? Like there's just such a deep rabbit hole with load management.
No, I think that's a fair assessment. And look, you know that certain teams reach a point in the season where they're like, all right, we've won 37 games, but we're not going to be in the play-in, right? Or we can see we're not going to be in the play-in. And so what do they start doing? The franchise make a decision to not play their best players, right? It's all connected, right? Because this goes back to tanking, right? If you're not going to make the playoffs and you're not going to make the play-in to try to get into the playoffs, then you try to get better through the draft. You try to get better draft capital by losing more games. And it's tanking when your best players aren't on the floor. We joke about this, but there are certain teams that they can have all their best players on the floor and they can lose honestly. They're just not very good teams. I don't think there's one perfect way to solve tanking. There really isn't, because it's not like it just started in 2026. People were tanking in 2014, 2013, 2010. Like tanking isn't new. And you get mixed results. You can tank. It doesn't mean you go from tanking to being a dynasty. It doesn't always work that way either. I'm just hoping that the NBA's front office really puts the time in this off season to try to fix the things they can actually fix, because I think that's important for the game going forward.
No, absolutely. And yeah, I agree. Jory Silver just overreacts too much.
He does. Yeah. I think he's very reactive, and that's his problem. And he, almost like a politician, he feels like he has to do something, and I would argue that he's doing too much now. Like you don't always have to put guardrails on everything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Say, that being said, Mo, that's all I had for us tonight. Anything you want to add?
Oh no! Look, appreciate the chat, especially Jory, Kyle coming through. Thank you guys so much for joining Brett down on Thursday night, talking some hoops, man. As we get that much closer to the postseason, don't forget, guys. I do believe the play-in tournament is it the 14th? Is that coming up?
Yeah, the 14th and through the 17th. I think it's
yeah.
I know it's on Tuesday, Friday, or Wednesday, Friday, and I think Monday.
Right. We are headed straight for the playoffs. Look, if we're watching the play-ins, we're watching the playoffs. Same difference. So make sure you guys join us next week. We can talk some more hoops.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just to make sure everybody knows, next Monday we won't be having an episode of Meaty Boys because the following next weekend, not this weekend, but the following weekend is WrestleMania. We'll be doing a WrestleMania watch along. So we'll be on Saturday, Sunday, and then we might end up having an earlier start time too on the 23rd because it's our biggest show, one of our biggest shows of the year, the NFL Draft Show.
Oh yeah.
So we'll have to work around that, but we'll let you guys know the update on the draft show. But the next time you'll see us is next Thursday for and one. Jory's ready for LeBron off the team.
As am I, Jory. As am I.
So yeah, that being said, thank you for tuning in and have a good night.